The Valve Index is supposed to be the pinnacle of virtual reality in this generation of headsets. The $1,000 spent on it has a lot to live up to. So, does this rather beefy headset justify its rather beefy price tag? Let's take a look. You're watching Friendly Fella Jed. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. For this review, I'll review the Sensor, Index headset, and Knuckles controllers, what I liked about them first, and then what I didn't like about them second. First up, the sensors. I don't have much to say about the sensors, because they're sensors. What can you really say about the sensors? Supposedly, because of their curved design, they can cover a wider range of movement. I will say that I've had minimal difficulties when it comes to tracking. Now, this is unrelated, but as someone who used to play on the Oculus Rift, I like how all you have to do is plug in the sensor to an electrical outlet rather than to your computer. With the Oculus, you have to plug the sensors into the computer, which means having to put up with a bunch of extension cables and such, so not having to deal with all that is definitely an upgrade. There's a lot of good I have to say about the Index headset. I mean, first off, it looks much better than the Vive. The Vive looks like an ugly prototype, but I mean, criticizing the way a VR headset looks is pretty pointless because it's not like you're looking at it as you're playing it. So, the headset itself is very easy to put on. You just lift the strap, look into the headset, lower the strap, and tighten it. It's very simple. You can get in and out very easily. The face mask is also very good. There are a lot of things to adjust for comfort, which is also always good. You can adjust the strap, the tightness of the strap, how far apart the lens can go, and how far away they can be from your eyes. As far as how the headset looks on the inside, it's amazing. The screen door effect is almost unnoticeable. The picture is less blurry, text is easier to read from further away, and colors are much more vibrant. It's just crystal clear. The field of view is also bigger than most other headsets, so it's a little more immersive. Now, it's not enough to fill your entire field of view. You still have sort of tunnel vision as you use it, but it's better than most other headsets on the market. I do like the headphones, or I suppose they're speakers because they don't actually touch your ears. I didn't think that they'd work very well. I thought I'd just replace them with my normal headphones like I did with my Oculus Rift, but to my surprise, they're actually top tier. They're just excellent. The integrated microphone is also very good. Other VR headsets, their integrated microphones are good enough for talking to other people in-game, but not really for YouTube videos or streams. However, the Index's microphone is good enough to the point that I could almost use it for my reviews. It's that good. And lastly, I do like the cameras on it. They don't do much other than help me turn off the lights or grab a jug of water, but they're still nice to have on the off chance that I need to use them. The controllers, also known as the Knuckles, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like them, but we'll go down that rabbit hole later. First off, at 7 hours, the battery life is quite serviceable. Even as someone who plays hours and hours of VR, I've never really ran it down in one sitting. Although if you're marathoning a rather long VR game like Half-Life Alyx, you might have to take a break for the controllers to charge. Now, the controllers are rechargeable, which in the grand scheme of things is good. You don't have to buy or waste any batteries in order to use these things. Now, sure, that does mean that you have to give up the convenience of being able to just switch out batteries to quickly get back into a game, but I think it's a good trade. I also like the knuckle straps too. You don't have to constantly keep your fist clenched around the controllers. You can actually open and relax your hand while still having access to the controller. These straps also make throwing a little more intuitive too. So obviously, there is a lot to like about the full Index kit. But there's a lot that I don't like about it. So, let's get into that. The sensors are actually they're just fine, right? I mean, they're sensors, they're kind of hard to mess up. So yeah, the sensors, nothing to complain about there. They do their job, and they do it good. As far as my complaints about the headset, I did notice some weird visual things with the lens. I've noticed weird glares and reflections in dark or bright settings, which only really happen every once in a while, mostly when Steam VR loads, so in that sense, it's not really that big of a deal. Now, what I really don't like about this headset is that It's easy to put on, yes, but in my personal experience, I find that it's quite hard to get it comfortable. I mean, I don't know, maybe other people have different experiences with this thing, but I do find myself constantly adjusting the straps and tightness quite often. This thing is heavy. Obviously, that's to be expected, because I assume there's a lot of tech shoved into this thing, but that doesn't mean that my experience didn't suffer as a result. I actually found myself having trouble keeping my head up if I played for long periods of time because the thing is so heavy that it kind of weighs down my neck. Now, I've gotten used to the weight, but I still feel it, right? I still feel its presence. It kind of drags if you move your head. And, I mean, honestly, something that I liked with the original Oculus Rift was that it was really, really light. You hardly felt it at all. It helped create a very immersive experience. But, you know, I am kind of taken out of the experience a little because I'm constantly feeling this behemoth of a VR headset on my face, right? I also really hate how big the nose gap is. It makes the headset feel much more loose, it makes it more susceptible to wiggling, and it's a lot harder to look down because the thing might fly off your head. The controllers are easily the worst thing about this kit. Individual finger tracking sounds like a no-brainer, but in reality, it adds very little to the experience. It adds nothing to the games that you play, it doesn't make the games you play any more immersive, it does nothing. In fact, a lot of times, it's actually straight up inaccurate. Sometimes I'll make a fist, but my fingers only close partially. Sometimes my virtual hands will make a fist, even though my actual hands are completely open. And it's cool that there aren't any grip buttons, so grabbing stuff is a little more accurate, but it's a novelty that wears off quick. I really hate the joystick placement on this thing. You have to bend your thumb at an awkward angle to access it. It feels awful. I actually find my thumb slipping and losing leverage on it. The thing isn't even that comfortable to hold in general. Now, it's not necessarily uncomfortable, and it's probably miles ahead of the Vive's wands, but I expected more from the ergonomics department. I didn't want just a passable controller. I'm even more disappointed because I upgraded from the Oculus Rift, and the Oculus Touch controllers are probably the best that VR has to offer. Is it unreasonable to expect something similar from the Knuckles? I feel like I downgraded. How many revisions did these things go through? How much money went into developing these things? Why do they suck so bad? I actually had technical problems so bad with my index controllers that I had to send my left knuckle to Valve. This was when I had my index for less than a month. Less than a month! At that point, the thing's still brand spanking new. And a lot of other people report getting multitudes of issues with their index kits, so I might not even be unique in this regard. So, you know, quality control, frick that, am I right, guys? No, honestly, I don't hate the Valve Index. I mean, I think it's a decent headset, but that's the problem. It's only decent. For $1,000, I expected a knockout punch. I expected the best that VR has to offer at this time, and I don't think that I got that. What the Index can offer that other headsets can't is overshadowed quickly by its downsides. The weight, the uncomfort, the awful controllers. It really pains me to say this, but I give the Valve Index a 6 out of 10. I can't really recommend it to people who are anything but hardcore VR enthusiasts. Hell, I'd have trouble recommending this to someone who's really into VR. Honestly, I wish I had never bought this thing. I don't feel as if I've got my $1,000 worth. Friendly fella Jed, out.